Good. Appreciate everybody showing up today. Kind of a big day anytime you're hiring 3 coaches into a program. You know, we're excited to be announcing the hiring of 3 guys. 3 guys that all went through different processes with us, but all were very impressive during their individual process. We hired 2 DB coaches. Devin Klieman will coach our safeties. Will Johnson will coach our corners, and then Jake Landry to my left here. You know, obviously he'll coach and be the offensive coordinator coaching the running backs. The one thing I want to point out for each and every one of these guys, in their own unique way, it was, for them, it was proven in how they talked about the research or how they lived in Fargo. It meant a lot for them to be here. I think when we talk about the fit, and I know sometimes that ain't the sexiest way to talk about a hire, the biggest selling point, but for us, when you combine administration, the players, Fargo, and the people on our staff already, the fit is all that mattered to me, along with being a capable teacher, educator of football, and being a great mentor. The guy, I'll go in chronological order as far as the hiring process, and Devin Klieman was a done deal a little earlier than what got reported. It just we had a snag with the Kansas network, I guess, in the background check. But Devin, for you guys, it's his story and being part of Bison football for as long as he was, being in Fargo for as long as he was, just really just the start. I can say this. It got a little bit annoying. If you know my personality, you can imagine somebody calling and telling me who to hire. That wasn't exactly awesome, but the amount of people that have worked with Chris Klieman, that have worked with Devin, that I hold in high regard of being very knowledgeable from a defensive standpoint was unbelievable. And then there was crossover to the offensive guys, and it was crystal clear to me that Devin had grown and come a long ways. I think Devin maybe got a shot, got my ear because of who he is, Chris Klieman's son, but it's make no doubt about it, in this interview process, he has mastered the system's terminology, the system's rules and principles, and now we got to find out if he can be an answer guy for us. But he did a heck of a job in the interview. He was by far, with the safeties group, the most impressive guy, being able to talk football with Grant and Nick. One time I felt like leaving because they were talking about stuff that I didn't understand. So we're really, really excited to have, Devin joining us. Will Johnson, unbelievable story. I've always thought in recruiting, adversity is important, and this guy has overcome some in his past. If he wants to share a story and you guys want to ask, he'll do that on his own. But I thought the amount of things he had to overcome to become a player at Oklahoma is just fascinating. And those are the young people that we want to bring into our program to impact our student athletes who can relate to some of our student athletes. Will played at Oklahoma, coached at Oklahoma, and then was at USC recently. And I know, for some people, it's going to be like, how did this come about? I think Will's one of those guys that people start texting you and start calling, man, you need to take a look at this guy. You need to do this. You need to do that. Again, we're trying to stay true to our process and our primary list. But his reference page was just unbelievable. And the amount of people that had contacted me through the Power 5 that I respect, and some of those guys I had worked with, Jamar Kane, Roy Manning, in the impact that Will made on their lives and on their players' lives was just too hard to ignore. And so there again, really, really excited the fact that Will had to earn this in an interview process. He went through the Zoom section, then came on campus and thorough process with our guys to see if he'd be the right fit, and we're really, really excited to have him. The other thing I will comment on with Will, it was fun to get to call Bob Stoops. He did turn down the opportunity to speak at our clinic, made me well aware he's still coaching in the USFL, and he's still selling tequila. And, I think Coach Stoops didn't recall that we had lunch together when I was in Iowa, so it was fun to talk with him, and his core values align with who we want to be as a program, and the reference points that he made about Will, not only as a player but as a person, really helped to get that relationship established. And then I'm just, Jake is going to have to want to be pushed, and I think that's why he's here. But Jake and I have been friends a long time. 2013, we had the opportunity to coach for a pretty good football team. The 2013 Northern Illinois football team had, the number 3 guy in the Heisman candidate race. Jake and I grew a lot together. Jake was there for me, trying to get me caught up on no huddle offense and signals and things like that. We spent countless hours away from the facility. And then I think what happened there is, Jake might have started to see me as someone that he could leverage for information and advice. I don't even know why Jake is still my friend, because half of our phone calls that would go well over an hour, would be like me beating him up on this profession and just hanging in there and just staying the course. This thing's going to work out. I really like Jake's story, and I like his, just his decision making along the way. He left Division I to go coach and call plays at Division III. Okay, and then he went back to Division I to coach the quarterbacks, or get the opportunity to coach quarterbacks at Temple. Okay, and then wanted to coordinate again. So he's been around a lot of good football, and I would say that wasn't necessary for me to interview him, because he's been through about a 10-year trial and error of question and answers. So, Jake Landry and Will Johnson and Devin Klieman are 3 additions that we're super fired up about. We're in the process of going through the cut-ups right now and just teaching what we had done, and then next week we'll look at how to improve it. With that, I'd like to open up any questions for myself or any of the 3 new hires.
Coach Polasek, you mentioned, I think on the radio, when Tyler was still going to be the offensive coordinator, that he would call the plays. Is that the plan with Jake, is to have him call the offensive plays, or will you kind of be in the, you're obviously always on the headset, but is it kind of going to be his deal?
Yeah, it's going to be Jake's deal. I think the number one thing for us to get established is for our players to be really comfortable. And Jake had worked in this formation system before. Some of the shift trade motions will be very similar, but the formations very, very similar to what we were doing at Northern Illinois and here. So I think that's first and foremost. Jake has got to learn our stuff, and then what I'm gonna challenge the staff on coming out of May is, okay, Jake, where do you see this thing headed? And he's going to be the play caller for sure. But I do want to make this perfectly clear. With Dan Larson moving to the run game coordinator, he's going to have a lot of responsibility in the preparation and putting together the game plan. And then Jake will make some determinations on what will go to the call sheet. And then I think Randy Hedberg, we're just really lucky, guys. This is not a deal where we had to hire somebody to come in and reshape the whole damn thing. I mean, we've got a pass game coordinator up there that's been with our quarterback. That's the most important person in our program, okay, who knows him very well. And the first thing we got to do is call plays that guy's comfortable with. And so Jake will be our play caller.
Landry, what are some of the kind of differences? I'm sure you're taking in information through a fire hose right now, but just your background, what you ran at St. Thomas, what was going on at Northern Illinois, and then what are kind of the differences in, or just things you have to get used to in this offensive system?
Yeah, I think like Coach Polasek said, we're working through that right now. We're collaborating as a staff of what's been done here, what can be different, what can improve, what can get taken out, and like Coach Polasek said, Cam Miller and Cole, and what do they do well, and how do we enhance that, how do we improve that, and how do we expand upon that?
Can you recap the last couple of weeks and how this has gone in your life?
Yeah, I think the timing worked out the way that it did. Never intended it to happen the way that it did. But I've said this before, this is where I wanted to be and this is who I wanted to work for. And it wasn't just a matter of a week, 2 weeks. It's been since 2013 that I know Tim was the guy that was going to make me better. And you can ask my wife, there's been a lot of logged phone calls that go late into the night that I knew this would be something, if the opportunity came, that me and my wife wouldn't be able to pass up.
Well, can you describe what Jamar's stamp of approval on Fargo meant to you? Was that to push it over the edge?
Yeah, Jamar spoke very highly of Fargo. He actually couldn't stop calling me when I arrived here. He FaceTimed me about 5 times just to show him the buildings and his old house where he used to live and every restaurant here. So he couldn't speak enough about Fargo. And the thing he spoke most about that kind of popped out right away was the people here, just how nice welcoming. The people are here, and then the camaraderie around the town behind the team is what he spoke on in second, and that's been very evident since I've arrived here.
Obviously, your profession is often viewed as a ladder. How much of your conversation with these guys was, hey, do you want to be here for 3 or 4 years, or do you want to do really well here for 2 years and move on to the next thing? And how much is that kind of weighed into like your conversations with all three of these guys? Do you want to build something here, or are you kind of viewing this as, well, hey, I'd like to get to the next thing?
Yeah, well, I think they go hand in hand. I really do. With Will, it was interesting because I think halfway through his Zoom call, I kind of maybe threw my pen down and I said, what are we doing? Like, why do you want to, like, Will, you're talented. I'm telling you, this guy hit. As far as man coverage principles, zone play in the corners, I mean, I asked him, I said, well, how does this even work? Like, why haven't you gotten a full-time job at the Power 5 level? That was kind of my question. And then as things continued, you know, I kind of asked Will, I said, Will, you know, we need a commitment level out of you. And that's when he went off. He was the guy that researched North Dakota State the best out of the 20 people that we have been on the phone with or that we have Zoom interviewed with. He was by far the guy that was most knowledgeable and most eager to want to be part of a developmental program. And that spoke volumes. And he talked about how awesome of an experience it was to recruit the very best talent and be part of their recruitment of the very best talent in the world, but wanting to be challenged as a coach to see if he could develop and make somebody better. And that stood out to me. But I would never ask any of these guys, you know, we don't ask them to sign multi-year contracts with buyouts. I mean, I think NDSU can be that for people, a stepping stone, but I also think NDSU can be a long-term deal. You know, and so each guy's got to take advantage of their opportunities, and when opportunities come to them, they have to take a hard look for them and their families, and that's why we did interview so many people, so we could start creating a pretty good log for guys to step in whenever that happens. I think it's interesting because you could play the game of hiring somebody. I'm not going to give names here, but hire guys that are out of the business that have made $500,000 to $600,000 a year, right? Okay, and they can come here for a short time, and then it is what it is. Or you can hire people that think North Dakota State's a great opportunity to learn and get better and make an impact, and then just put their head down and work, and then with that, good opportunities will come. I tend to lean that way.
Coach Klieman, obviously your family has a great legacy here at North Dakota State. What do you personally want to leave the most legacy here yourself?
Well, I mean, North Dakota State has meant a lot to my family. Fargo was not a place that we, by any means, thought would be called home. I remember moving from Cedar Falls, Iowa, up to Fargo, and we had no idea what we were getting into. And little did we know it was going to be one of the best football experiences of our lives. But I mean, from growing up, going to high school here, doing those type of things, I truly grew in love with football in Fargo, especially when I got to school here at North Dakota State. My mom still thinks I'm crazy for getting into coaching and doing that stuff, so is my pops on that. But I was really excited to get back here with this culture, this atmosphere, and the player-led ownership that these guys have been showing throughout workouts and some of that stuff. It's evident that that's still a huge deal here.
Talked in 2019 about getting into coaching. Did you ever think about coming back to Fargo? That ever register on the radar?
Not specifically. I always just try to focus on being where I was and being where my feet were and trying to help out just the players I was helping, like the position group that we were with and all that stuff. But it is surreal to kind of go back and know that my dad was the safeties coach here in 2011, Coach Klieman, who I've worked with a ton, Coach Stannard, a bunch of coaches that have helped me throughout this.
Polasek, is there a common trait that all these three have, or you look when you're hiring a coach? Is there something? I mean, obviously there are differences. Was there one thing that you want the coaches you hire to have as a quality?
I think the relationship with the players and really wanting to be part of that stood out for any candidate we took to the second phase. You know, just relationships matter in teaching. You know, for me, it's so critical to that when there's meetings going on, position meetings going on, I know guys are staying true to being teachers first, not buddies, you know, not trying to, you know, cultivate fake relationships, that'll happen in time. So I would say, being an ultimate teacher, and then on top of that, a passion for ball, is up there. And then the relationship piece, whether it's in recruiting or with the current players, was three things that we were looking for out of everybody.
It's like you've got a defensive coordinator, a co-defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator, a run game coordinator, and a pass game coordinator. It seems you have a pretty young staff now, and B, at least to me, I view it as an emphasis on collaboration. Is that kind of why so many of those, I don't want to call them extra titles, but they're not always on every staff? Is that sort of the vision, is the collaborative aspect of it?
Well, I think it's twofold. I remember laughing at Mike McCarthy, like, what the heck are all these guys? Titles don't mean anything. And I've been on staffs where guys just said, "Get out of my way. I'm just going to do my job," and stayed in their lane. I think I've been a part of that in my past here. And then when I started looking at putting this thing together, it was really important for me on defense that those guys had specific roles. Grant's going to be a first-time coordinator, but if we all know one thing about Grant, he might be the smartest guy in the room at all times. Okay, I just think giving Nick the responsibility, whether it's short yardage defense, goal line defense, and how to, really handle the front, and then let those other three guys work together with, coverage and run fits. I thought that would be best. And I know those two have worked together a long time. That wasn't a decision I made. We made that, collaborative decision, together. And then offensively, Randy had been in those roles already, and I just didn't see a big need to pull a title from him. And again, he's got a lot of experience with a 6-year quarterback and a 4th-year quarterback, and so I think that was just natural. I think the pass game's interesting, right? Like, there would be some that would argue the quarterback coach should be the play caller, and I kind of agree with that. And then there's some talented guys that can do it from other spots. But we have to see offense through the coordinator's eyes and through the quarterback's eyes, more importantly. And so that was just kind of a natural fit.
It's been a while since you haven't been the QB coach. Just kind of your thoughts on taking over the running back position and sort of your working relationship with Randy, and just kind of how you sort of see that whole thing kind of playing out.
Yeah, I'm excited. I coached running backs in 2018 at Northern Illinois. Been around this group for a week now. It's a fun group, a lot of personalities. Excited to get to work with those guys, to get back doing something different. To be able to teach different part of the offense is exciting to me. My relationship with Coach Hedberg goes back to high school. Coach Hedberg was the head coach at St. Cloud State at the time and recruited me out of high school. So known him for a long time, and obviously he's had a ton of success here. And in the last week, being able to be in a room with him for a long period of time, to be able to pick his brain has been very informational for me, and just be able to now realize the success the quarterbacks have had here. A big reason why is the guy that's been coaching them.
Coach Polasek, is the staff complete now, or are there still spots left to fill in, or is it totally done now for hiring coaches?
No, Jeff Phelps is going to take a different job, and he's going to move on, and so we'll have a defensive line position open. And then we're going to be on our toes, ready to respond. I know the last time we were sitting here, sure felt like everything was pretty set and all those things, and we got some things in place. But I just, to me, the hiring process has been pushed back now. It seems like 2 to 3 weeks with how late we're playing the college football playoff and some of those things impacting things. And then hopefully we'll make one more hire, and everybody seems to be pretty happy.
A director of player personnel type of guy on staff? I think Ian obviously is no longer here, so is there somebody that's doing that now? Or
Yeah, I appreciate your question, Mike, and those guys are important. So hopefully Zach Peters is going through the process right now of being, formally interviewed as one of those guys. But we'll see we'll see who comes in qualified for that position. But Zach's been in our program and has gained great knowledge, working with Ian. He'll be a guy that's under consideration until the university gets through the hiring process. We won't be able to make any formal announcement.
For Coach Johnson, you had this history of having a graduate assistant role at Oklahoma, USC, and now getting this full-time job with the Bison. What's that mean to you to get this first real step with the full-time stuff with a team like North Dakota State?
Yeah, I think anytime you get your first real shot at anything, man, it's special, it's unique, and it's memorable. And I think I've had other opportunities in the past, but I didn't think that they were the right first opportunities for me, right? And I thought that this one was the right one. And just like I told Coach Polasek on my interview, this place to me is a rarity in college football now. The camaraderie and the brotherhood that's still at the forefront of the program is different. With all the transfer portal and the NIL movement and stuff like that going on, I think there's very few programs right now, to me, that at the forefront of the program is brotherhood and camaraderie first. And so that's why this place stuck out to me. The culture, the tradition, the winning, all of those things to me create a really good place to kind of build that foundation and kind of start my career from.
So do you feel like things are slowing down a little bit? I mean, you mentioned the whirlwind of getting hired, then signing day, calling recruits, all that. Now you have almost the entire staff put together. Do you feel like things have slowed down? And then kind of what does forward look like for you?
Yeah, I think it's been the most normal stretch of 5 days. Having a junior day, right? That's normal activity to me. And then watching our guys work out at running, getting together with the offense in the morning and the defense in the PM, it's felt a lot like football, and I've appreciated that. I just think it's going to be really cool to go through the first year and just keep it day by day, week by week, and keep providing these guys opportunities to be great teachers. And then for me to keep, finding opportunities to get out into this great community and create. There should be energy about what we got going on. This is going to be fun. We got to get this thing back where the whole damn city and state feel like they're missing out if they're not in their building. Because we think it's an unbelievable opportunity to be here. We think it's an unbelievable opportunity each day to sell the program and to sell our kids. And it's just I can't believe I'm going to say I'm surprised at the willingness of our student athletes to do whatever it takes or whatever we ask them to do. I mean, this just doesn't happen everywhere. And it's a strong, strong culture. And I look forward to continuing to try to win day by day. But the last 5 days have been the most normal. Recruiting meeting, a junior day, and then getting into some workouts and some film.
You've got an All-American in your room with Cole, and in general, kind of an experienced group. Obviously, their position coach prior to you had a lot more coaching experience than you do. Kind of just your first initial look at the safeties group and sort of just your very beginning of kind of building a relationship with that crew with kind of that stark contrast.
Yeah, it's been good being back this weekend and kind of being around them. You can tell that Cole and Sam are very veteran dudes, and I'm going to lean on those guys just as much, but I'm just as excited about some of the younger guys. And, being at North Dakota State, you're expected to play 15 games a year. It's not going to be just 100%, 0%. You're going to have a bunch of guys that are going to have to play. Obviously, adversity is going to hit throughout the season that younger guys might have their numbers called, and that's why I'm excited to get here in spring ball and kind of start working with those guys.